10. Throwing a puppy. A white woman in California was busted racially abusing a man and then throwing a puppy at him. As if hurling racial insults at somebody isn't horrific enough, the young Karen went ahead and abused an animal as well, using a living puppy as a weapon. The video was recorded in 2020, showing the irate woman losing her mind at a local California rapper named Glomula. It's not clear exactly what started the bizarre interaction. When he started recording, the woman was walking towards him through the middle of the street as he had simply been trying to get back into his car. She yelled at him, "You're black," for seemingly no reason, and that was when everything spiraled out of control. The two got into an argument. The rapper became concerned that she was holding the puppy in a really unsafe way, and then she kicked him and tossed the dog in his face. It was incredibly bizarre, and the woman didn't really appear to know what was happening or even where she was. Then just as quickly as she had attacked a random man unprovoked, she ran off down the street. Her face is all over the internet and she's probably lost all her friends, while Glomula got himself a cute new puppy. So in the end, it all really worked out. 9. Jennifer Couture. Jennifer Couture is the insane Florida woman who went viral in early 2022 when she tried to run somebody over with her car outside a Dunkin' Donuts. The video was first shared on TikTok, with Jennifer, a blonde white woman who may or may not have fake eyebrows and fake lips, clearly seen exiting her black Mercedes and then attacking the unidentified person filming. Jennifer can be heard telling the person to relax, to chill out with their attitude, and then she tried to snatch the phone from the other woman's hand. The victim screamed out, "Ah, you just assaulted me!" And then Jennifer mocks the woman and returns to her Mercedes SUV. But this wasn't the end of the interaction. Jennifer then tried to back her SUV over the woman who was filming her. Her attempt failed, but she still tried to run a stranger over. She has since been charged with 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. 2 counts because after she failed the first time to run the woman over, she tried again. As for why Jennifer turned full Karen, we don't know all the details. It seems to have been over some frivolous disagreement in the parking lot of the donut shop. 8. Hot soup. On November 7, 2021, Amanda Martinez threw hot soup in the face of a manager at a restaurant. She did it because she was angry that her plastic lid had melted. Amanda was so furious about the poor quality of her lid that she tried to scald somebody's face off. The disturbing moment was caught on surveillance footage inside the Sol de Jalisco restaurant in Temple, Texas. Amanda demanded to speak with the manager, a typical Karen move. Then when manager Janelle Brolin tried to de-escalate the situation, Amanda tried her hardest to keep it escalating. After a whole lot of yelling, Amanda threw the steaming hot soup directly in the 24-year-old manager's face. Keep in mind, this was soup so hot it melted the plastic lid of the container. It wasn't just hot enough to burn your lips, it would have burned your whole tongue off. The manager described the feeling of the soup hitting her in the face like taking a full stream of pepper spray straight to the eyes. It was so hot that her eyes burned and she got an instant nosebleed. By the time the police arrived, Amanda was long gone. But just days later, an arrest warrant was issued and she was booked into the Bell County Jail. If found guilty on the charge of assault, Amanda will be looking at around 1 year in jail and $4,000 in fine. 7. Taser Karen. Just before the end of 2020, a white woman did something so outrageous, she earned herself the Karen of the Year award. It happened in California and involved an old woman, a taser, and a poodle. The incident was recorded by Discovery Bay woman Jeriel's security cameras and on her cell phone. You see, the old woman walked up to the front door of Jeriel's house with a taser in her hand. When Jeriel's brother opened the door to see what she wanted, the woman immediately lashed out. She claimed that their pit bull had attacked her dog and then proceeded to berate them for being black. This woman literally said, "You're a black person in a white neighborhood, and you're really acting like one. Why don't you act like a white person if you're going to live in a white neighborhood?" It was pretty terrible, but it got worse. The family asked if she would please leave, and she refused. She insisted that the family dog had attacked her dog, even though her dog was perfectly fine. Then she started rambling about her top secret clearance level and informing the family that they're all going to hell. She did eventually leave, but the whole thing left Jeriel and her family shaken and feeling unwanted in a neighborhood where they had been living for the last 10 years. 6. Home Depot Karen. Terry Lynn Wright was arrested for the second time in 6 days when she trespassed at a Texas Home Depot and refused to wear her mask in 2021. The incident at the Home Depot happened less than a week after the incident that originally shot her to fame at a Bank of America in Galveston on March 11. The 65-year-old white woman apparently didn't learn much from the first incident, in which she got kicked out of the bank for being maskless. She tried to walk into the Home Depot also without putting on a mask, and when employees asked her to leave, she refused. At about this time in the pandemic, store employees were pretty much done dealing with Karens. They phoned the police right away and let them deal with the situation. The cops told Terry that she would go to jail for trespassing if she didn't leave immediately, to which Terry replied that she was well within her federal rights and that the police officer was actually in violation of the law. It was about that time Terry was put into handcuffs and put into a patrol car. It was as she was being put into the car that the officer can be heard on his body cam saying, "Oh, you're the lady who was causing issues in Galveston the other day." She replied with, "No, I was the lady the other day following my rights." At the end of the day, this Karen didn't do much to get her into trouble. We didn't hear about any other incidents, so she hopefully learned her lesson after 2 strikes. 5. Amy Cooper. Amy Cooper is the white woman who called the police when she came across a bird watcher in the park who happened to have black skin. She was walking through Central Park in New York on Memorial Day 2020. She was in a wooded area of the park where dogs are required to be leashed. Amy Cooper did not have a dog on its leash, and Christian Cooper, the name's totally coincidental, asked if she could please leash her animal. It wasn't an outrageous request. Nonetheless, Amy flipped out. She ordered Christian to stop recording her as he pulled his phone out to document the interaction. She also threatened to call the cops, then really did call them and proceeded to lie to the authorities on camera. She said to the cops that there was an African-American man with a bicycle helmet who was threatening her and her dog. Then, for absolutely no reason, Amy began to scream into her phone as if she was about to be kidnapped. She went off like a crazy person, screeching to send the cops immediately because she was in mortal danger. It was all quite strange and a huge overreaction, and Amy's life took a pretty hard downward turn afterward. In an interview with CNN, Amy tried to defend her actions by saying she wasn't a racist, but the damage was already done. After the video surfaced online, she was fired from her job at her investment firm. 4. Hate Crime Karen. At a protest taking place at the Hartford Capitol building back in 2021, Yulia Gilstein, a 45-year-old white woman, spat on a black female activist. As you can imagine, the activist was pretty upset. The whole incident was caught on video, with Yulia heard screaming, "All lives matter," just before she hawked a loogie at Karen Prescott, the founder of Power Up Manchester. Police arrested the older woman almost immediately, and she was promptly charged with breach of the peace. But that wouldn't be the end of her story. Spitting on a black woman at a protest got her charges upgraded to a hate crime, as well as to third-degree attempt to commit assault. Not wanting to go to jail, Yulia made a dramatic apology at her court hearing and called her actions completely out of character. In other words, the same defense every Karen in the history of Karens has ever given. But what upset her victim even more than the act itself was the fact that Yulia didn't get much more than a slap on the wrist. She was ordered to complete 100 hours of anti-hate education over 2 years and then let go. 3. White woman with a gun. The employee of a Mississippi campground was fired from her job at the beginning of summer of 2019 for pulling out a gun on a couple who were trying to have a picnic. The woman with the gun happened to be white, while the couple happened to be black. The woman's name is Ruby Nellie Howell, and she was 70 years old at the time of her bizarre public freakout. It happened on May 26th, and the whole thing was caught on video. Ruby approached Franklin and Jessica Richardson, who were looking for a nice picnic spot and perhaps a cabin on the edge of Oktibbeha County Lake. They looked like a totally ordinary couple, just out and about with their family dog. Yet Ruby marched straight up to them with a handgun in her fist and told them to leave immediately. She said they didn't have a reservation, even though she never asked about a reservation. She couldn't possibly have known their situation. She simply saw a black couple and decided to pull out a gun and chase them off the property. Thankfully, Ruby was caught in the act, and considering she'd been working at the campground for quite some time, this probably wasn't the first time something like this had happened. It just so happened to be the first time somebody captured it on video. Ruby was fired the second that video went public and was arrested by the Oktibbeha County Sheriff's Office and charged with threatening exhibition of a weapon. But as you can probably guess, she was released on a bond of only $500 and let go the same day. 2. The Spirit Airlines Karen. On September 11, 2021, a white woman decided to commemorate the anniversary of the terror attacks in New York City by being racist on an airplane. The victim of this particular Karen has been identified as Acha Torre, a woman who happens to be both black and Muslim. Acha claims that while on a Spirit Airlines flight which just landed in Detroit, the Karen singled her out and launched a rather aggressive verbal assault. It all started after an older woman dropped her luggage and it accidentally hit the Karen. This caused her to fly off the handle, first screaming at the older woman who had dropped her luggage, a woman who was old enough to be her mother, before lashing out at Acha Torre. She screamed, totally unprovoked, at Acha to mind her own business and also called her a Muslim terrorist. She worked herself up into such a frenzy that she physically attacked Acha, despite a number of passengers filming her with their phones. The police came and took the Karen off the airplane and charged her with assault and disorderly conduct. But that's not enough for Acha. According to the Detroit Free Press, Acha is now trying to charge the woman with a hate crime for spewing anti-Muslim rhetoric during a physical assault. 1. The Case of the Two Karens. The case of the two Karens is a little different and a little strange. It started years ago in 2013 when a woman named Karen Y. Clark had her identity stolen by another woman named Karen A. Clark. Karen A. convinced Karen Y. to hand over her personal information to help build her credit score. But instead of doing that, Karen A. used that information to rent an apartment and to commit financial crimes throughout Missouri. You could call Karen A. Clark the ultimate Karen, a truly slimy human being. She used the information from the other Karen to steal money, to commit fraud, to commit forgery, and to rob her former employer of about $30,000. Instead of helping to boost Karen Y's credit score, she ran it into the ground. She took out as many loans as she possibly could, rented places and trashed them, and was just generally awful for 8 long years. It wasn't until 2021 that police finally picked her up and charged Karen A. with identity theft. The police were able to identify at least 7 aliases that she used throughout her life as an identity thief. She went by names like Karen Ann Kendall, Karen Lavinia Clark, and Karen Vinewald. She may have been a clever con artist, but she couldn't seem to come up with any better names than Karen. Would you rather get stuck next to a Karen on an airplane or someone who hasn't showered in 3 weeks and snores with their mouth open the whole flight? Let us know which is worse in the comments. And thanks for watching. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and we'll see you next time. Bye.